But first, I want to welcome Lieutenant Governor David Dewhurst to the program. Hi, David. How are you?
I'm doing great, Joe. How are you?
It's always a pleasure to have you on. I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate what the legislature looks like it's going to do. Before we get into what we're doing in Texas, which is really what I want to focus on, let's talk about the newest news. The president, flanked by children that I guess he's okay with exploiting for his political gain, signed a bunch of executive orders that I don't think well, I'll ask you. Do you think, Lieutenant Governor, having heard about the 23 executive orders, that any of them, even a combination of them, would have prevented what happened in Connecticut?
Absolutely not. In Connecticut, the tragedy, terrible. They had already locked down the school. The school was locked, and this bad person broke a glass window, and climbed in. No, it wouldn't have. It wouldn't have stopped the tragedy. That's the shame.
It appeared as though, Lieutenant Governor, he was touting his Obamacare thing today. It was very odd. It was about his health care bill, and somehow we have no right to privacy. If we're private citizens enjoying our Second Amendment right to keep and bear, we have to tell our doctor now if we have a gun? Is that the way I understood it?
I haven't seen all of it, but that's part of the news flashes, which I heard, which is just crazy. That is a violation of our constitutional rights.
Absolutely, and 100%. Now, you came out a few days ago and you said, I want to make sure that teachers and students aren't sitting ducks. We in Texas already, teachers, if they have their CHL, can carry on campus only if the administration and the ISD gives them the approval. There's way too much overloading there. Are you looking to get past that and allow for anybody who is properly trained to be able to carry on campus?
Right now, under current law, well, my focus has been in preparing people, letting the local independent school district, Joe, have the option of which they do under state law of authorizing school personnel or teachers to carry a concealed weapon on their person in that school. But my concern was, look, this is an issue of local control.
Right.
We have school districts right now here in the state of Texas who are 30 minutes away from a first responder, who do not have the funds to hire police officers to be in that school during the day, Monday through Friday. And so they have gone out, as in the case of Herod Independent School District. I talked to the superintendent last night. They picked, Joe, this is fascinating, they picked very, very mature, very stable, unflappable teachers, put them through the concealed handgun permit course, then brought on a consultant and paid for that consultant to train them on what to do. Now, they are anonymous. The other teachers don't know who they are. And that they have safety precautions, which they do. They have never had an incident. And my feeling was that if an independent school district wanted to authorize personnel to carry a concealed weapon, as someone who's on his third renewal of my concealed handgun license, I know that 8 hours of instruction and 2 hours of time on the range is insufficient time to prepare someone for the rigors of trying to protect children, not hurt children, and protect themselves. And so my whole point was that if a school district is considering this and the people that are doing it think it's going to be the wave of the future, then there ought to be robust training so that these teachers can protect themselves and the children, and that should not be an unfunded mandate, and the state should pay for that.
I don't see why anybody would disagree. It's Lieutenant Governor David Dewhurst. You and I both have our CHLs.
Right.
We both went and took the test. We regularly, I'm guessing you do as well, we go to the range. We make sure we know what we're doing.
Right.
We make sure that we're safe with it. We've learned well beyond the 10 hours. Why not institute something where there is a regular periodic training for the teachers who choose to have their CHLs and who choose to carry, and forget about the overloading from the ISD? Why not allow anybody who's a teacher teacher. David, we trust them with our kids' future. We trust them with our kids' education. We trust them to take our little children to go to the bathroom if they have to go potty. We don't trust them to defend the classroom if, God forbid, they had to. They're just sitting ducks. Why do they have to go through the overloading of the ISDs? From the urban ISDs, I think you and I would agree, many of them are going to say no. Well, if the legislature and if you say, well, you can't say no because these people legally have obtained their CHL and the extra, whatever the teacher classes are that we decide, why not allow them to do that and tell the ISDs you don't have a say?
Joe, it's amazing the pushback I've already gotten just on saying train.
Really?
Let's train. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Front page in the Houston Chronicle, they completely misrepresented what I was saying. What I was saying is, look, given a choice between no presence in that school and a presence in that school, I vote personally for a presence in that school.
Absolutely.
Because if someone wants to harm kids, Joe, where are they going to go? They're going to go to a gun-free zone or a school that they know that
somebody's got a gun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, I saw the Chronicle story, and you're right. They not only misrepresented it, they said, how dare you spend money on protecting our kids when you took $5 billion away from education? They're still screaming about that, Lieutenant Governor.
They are, and that's a whole long story.
It's backward. It's a backward way to look at it.
Absolutely, and we funded our schools exactly what our Commissioner of Education said we needed to hold on to our good teachers. But anyway, that's why I'm suggesting that we pay for this apart from the school budget, so I won't have that complaint. This would be state funding for which would otherwise be an unfunded mandate. I want to see our children protected. No one wants to see our kids going to school in an armed camp.
Right.
But if something happened to our little girl or to your children or grandchildren, good. I mean, we would never get over it.
Never. It's Lieutenant Governor David Dewhurst. There is legislation that's been presented by Stephen Toth in the 15th District out in the Woodlands. And that legislation is the Firearms Protection Act here in Texas that would stop any overloading, any overwhelming tyrannical rule by the federal government in telling us the Second Amendment doesn't apply in Texas. What are the chances that's going to go through? How do you feel about that?
The Second Amendment right is an absolute right for law-abiding Americans. It is an absolute right, and I'm going to do everything I can to support it.
Can Texas and other states stop the federal government from trying to strip that right from the citizens?
We can do exactly what we've been doing repeatedly, and that's filing suit and trying to block with a temporary restraining order, as we've done in some of the cases on regulations passed by Obama and executive decisions. We've been able to temporarily block them. So we would do that and then consider what further steps we need to take. Second Amendment is an absolute right that our forefathers wanted us to have, and that should not be changed.
It's Lieutenant Governor David Dewhurst. Lieutenant Governor, I'm wondering, in your role in the state government, and it's a very powerful role the Lieutenant Governor is, do you have any contact with our U.S. representatives and our United States senators when it comes to what might happen? As Obama said today, the president said today, and he basically showed he can't, through executive order, ban anything. He can't ban large magazines. He can't ban, quote-unquote, assault rifles or whatever they're calling them now, military-style rifles. Are you in contact with our senators and our representatives? Because in the House, they've told me, to a man, to a woman, they've told me they will stop any sort of a ban like Dianne Feinstein wants. Do you have contact with them? Do you know what's being said?
Yes, yes, that's being said by our Republican members of the delegation. They are in the House, where we've got a majority up in Washington. They will vote against any such move by President Obama.
And I mean, those you agree with me that if the firearm is available, it should be available to us, the citizens?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Anything else that you're working on in the state legislature that you think that we should know about right now? I mean, this is a focus, obviously, of what's going on. But you've got that incredible surplus in the rainy day fund. We're not going to capitulate and give $5 billion back to the redundancies that were happening in the education department, are we?
No. What we're going to do is we have worked very hard. I've been involved in cutting taxes repeatedly over 50 times, and that has made Texas, Joe, the number one leader in the country as far as job creation, best place in the country to do business, and the fastest growing population. What I want to do is make sure that we're prepared for the future, carefully without breaking the bank, keeping our spending low, continuing to cut taxes even this year, continuing to cut taxes more, and we prepare for the fact that our population, Joe, this is a very large number. Our population is going to double from 26 to 50 million people over the next 4 to 5 decades, over the next 40 to 50 years. So we're going to have to double our drinking water. We're going to have to double our transportation capacity. We're going to have to double our electric power generation. We're going to double the number of our classrooms. We've got some real challenges, but I know as the only traditional business person elected statewide that it's hard to get to the top, but it's harder to stay on top. And I'm determined, Joe, to do everything that's necessary to make sure Texas stays on top as number one.
I'm proud of who we are as Texans. I'm proud of how the state's being run. I think it's the freest, most liberated state in the country, and economically we're doing the best. One last thing, and I'll let you go. Thank you so much for the access. When you saw the draconian regulations, rules, and bans and everything else that happened in New York yesterday, anything, because I've got people who listen to this program in New York. Would you say anything to the citizens of New York?
Move to Texas.
All right, David, we appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon.